Why is it that the woman who stopped calling you is the one who can't stop thinking about you at 2 a.m.? Your phone sits there, silent. 3 days, maybe longer. The last message thread hangs there like an unfinished sentence, and you're staring at it, wondering if you should type something. Anything. Your thumb hovers over her name. The cursor blinks, mocking you. But here's what most men don't realize. And I'll tell you exactly why this matters in a moment. Right now, while you're fighting every instinct to reach out, she's lying in her bed, staring at the ceiling. The room is dark. Her phone is face down, but her mind is wide awake. She's thinking about you, not the you that wants to text her right now. She's thinking about the you that walked away with dignity, the you that didn't beg when the silence began. This is the paradox most men never understand. Your silence is louder than any message you could send. But there's something deeper happening here that changes everything. The ancient Stoics knew this. We don't lose sleep over people who meant nothing to us. If she's staring into the darkness tonight, wrestling with thoughts of you, that's not emptiness, brother. That's the echo of something real. Today, we're going to break down exactly why her silence is not the end of the story. In fact, it's often just the beginning of her realizing what she might have lost. Let's get started. Number 1, the paradox of no contact. Here's the truth no one tells you. When a woman truly moves on, she replaces you. She fills the gap. She talks to someone new. She posts about her new life. She stays busy, so her mind has no time to circle back to what was. That's not what's happening here. See, when she goes quiet like this, it's not closure. It's contemplation. It's reflection. It means you're still occupying real estate in her mind that she didn't put up for sale. Late at night, when everything slows down and the world gets quiet, her mind starts revisiting the moments you shared, the conversations, the smiles, the unfinished stories. All of it starts playing back in her head like a private film she can't turn off. And here's where most men make their fatal mistake. They rush to interrupt that process. They send another message. They pick up the phone. They try to fix something that might not even be broken. But by doing that, they cut short the very moment when she's naturally thinking about them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." That wisdom applies here. Your role isn't to stress over what she's thinking. It's to remain steady, to live with intention, to keep your mind focused on what you can control. Yourself. Picture this. When you drop a stone into still water, the ripples move outward on their own. You don't need to keep splashing the pond. The same thing happens in her mind. The last meaningful interaction you had, that's the stone. Her thoughts are the ripples. Let them spread. But there's something even more powerful happening when you resist the urge to chase. And I'll show you exactly what that is next. Number 2, why she expects you to break first. She's waiting for you to crack. Not because she's cruel, not because she's playing games, but because that's what every other man has done before you. Think about it. How many times has she pulled back, gone quiet, and watched as the man in her life couldn't handle the silence? How many times has she seen him crumble under the weight of uncertainty, sending that desperate text at 2 a.m.? She's learned to expect it. The chase, the explanation, the "are we okay?" message that reeks of insecurity. But here's what she doesn't expect. And this is where you hold all the power. She doesn't expect you to be different. She doesn't expect you to stay calm in the storm. She doesn't expect you to honor the silence and use it as fuel for your own growth. Most men break because they can't sit with discomfort. They need immediate resolution. They need to know where they stand right now, this second. But you're learning something most men never master: how to be comfortable with the unknown. Epictetus taught us, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Right now, your silence isn't passive. It's not weakness. It's active restraint. It's you embodying the philosophy that your worth doesn't depend on her response. Imagine her lying there at midnight, scrolling through her phone. She's used to guys who break. Guys who can't handle a few days of quiet. Guys who need constant validation to feel secure. But your name isn't lighting up her screen. Your desperate paragraph isn't waiting in her DMs. And slowly, very slowly, something shifts in her mind. Why isn't he reaching out? Why isn't he fighting for this? Did I misjudge who he was? That's when the real psychological shift begins. That's when she starts to realize you're not like the others. But here's the critical part most men miss entirely. And understanding this will change everything about how you handle silence. Number 3, the power of emotional self-control. Your silence is teaching her something she's never learned before. What it feels like to wonder about a man instead of being chased by one. Every desperate text you don't send is a lesson in your value. Every late-night call you resist is proof that you're not governed by impulse. Every day you stay quiet is evidence that your peace doesn't depend on her response. This is emotional self-control in its purest form. But here's what's happening on a deeper level while you practice this restraint. You're breaking a pattern that's been carved into her mind by every other man she's known. The pattern that says, when I pull back, he pursues. When I go quiet, he gets loud. When I create space, he fills it with desperation. But you're rewriting that script entirely. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Your silence isn't the end of your connection with her. It's the beginning of her seeing you as someone fundamentally different. Think of it like this. Imagine she's used to men who are like loud music, constantly playing in the background. After a while, she learns to tune it out. It becomes noise, but silence. Real silence that demands attention. That creates space for her own thoughts to echo back to her. Right now, in that space you've created, she's not hearing your voice begging for her attention. She's hearing the memory of your voice when you last spoke with confidence, when you walked away with dignity. That memory has more power than any text you could send today. Your emotional self-control is doing something most men never achieve. It's making her curious instead of comfortable. It's making her wonder instead of assume. And when a woman starts wondering about a man instead of being pursued by him, everything changes. But there's something even more profound happening in the silence. Something that goes to the very core of attraction itself. Before we dive into part number 4, we'd like to take a moment to thank you for staying with us halfway through this video journey. In every moment, we can learn and grow. And the fact that you are here listening and reflecting with us is a tremendous gift that I cherish every minute. To help us spread these valuable lessons to even more people, please hit the like and share buttons for this video. Each share is a small but meaningful act, much like the timeless lessons Stoicism offers. Let's continue exploring and embracing these everlasting pieces of wisdom together. Once again, thank you for your continued support. Number 4, your silence is her mirror. Here's what no one tells you about silence. It forces people to face themselves. When you're not there to fill the space with words, explanations, or reassurances, she's left alone with her own thoughts. And those thoughts, they're not always comfortable. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects back to her everything she's feeling, but hasn't wanted to admit. Did she take you for granted? The silence asks that question. Did she push away something real? The quiet demands an answer. Is she letting pride destroy something meaningful? The emptiness won't let her ignore it. Think about it like this. When someone's talking constantly, you can't hear your own thoughts. But when they go quiet, suddenly there's space for your inner voice to speak. That's exactly what's happening to her right now. At 2 a.m., when the world finally stops spinning and her room falls silent, there's nowhere to hide from the questions your absence is asking. Why am I thinking about him if I don't care? Why does this silence feel heavier than his words ever did? What kind of man doesn't chase? What kind of strength is this? Marcus Aurelius understood this perfectly. How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself. Your silence isn't about punishing her. It's about giving her the space to see herself clearly, to feel the full weight of her own choices without your voice drowning out her conscience. Most men can't handle this. They rush in to fill the uncomfortable silence because they can't bear the thought of her sitting with difficult emotions. But you're learning something profound. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone is the space to miss you. The space to realize what they had while they had it. However, there's a deeper wisdom the ancient Stoics discovered about how to navigate these moments of profound silence. Number 5, what the Stoics taught about stillness and reaction. The Stoics had a concept called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. But they also understood something equally powerful, the premeditation of stillness. They knew that in the space between stimulus and response lies your freedom. Right now, her silence is the stimulus. Your desperate urge to text, to call, to fix things. That's your initial response trying to break free. But between that urge and your action, that's where your power lives. Epictetus taught his students, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Her not calling isn't what's causing your suffering. Your resistance to accepting that reality is what's eating you alive. The ancient Stoics would look at your situation and see it clearly. You're not being punished by her silence. You're being tested by it. Think of it like standing in the ocean as waves crash around you. The untrained man fights every wave, exhausting himself, getting knocked down again and again. But the wise man, He learns to move with the water. He finds his balance in the chaos. Her silence is your wave. You can fight it. Send that text. Make that call. Demand an explanation. And you'll get knocked down by your own desperation. Or you can find your balance in the uncertainty. You can plant your feet firmly in your own worth and let the wave of her silence crash around you without moving you from your center. Seneca wrote, "The willing, destiny guides them. The unwilling, destiny drags them." Right now, you have a choice. You can willingly accept this period of silence as part of your growth, as a test of your inner strength. Or you can be dragged through it, fighting and struggling against something you cannot control. But here's what happens when you choose stillness over reaction, when you embody the Stoic way. Number 6, letting her wrestle with her own thoughts. When you stop chasing, something extraordinary happens. She starts chasing her own thoughts about you. Right now, while you're learning to be comfortable with the silence, she's becoming increasingly uncomfortable with her own mind. Because here's the thing, thoughts are relentless when they have nowhere to go. If you were texting her every day, her thoughts about you would have an outlet. They'd be channeled into responses, reactions, decisions about what to say back. The mental energy would be directed outward. But when you go quiet, all that mental energy turns inward. She starts having conversations with you in her head, full conversations, arguments she wishes she could have, things she wants to say but can't because, well, you're not there asking to hear them. Picture this. It's 1 a.m. She's lying in bed, and suddenly, she's imagining what she'd say if you called right now. She's rehearsing explanations you never asked for. She's defending decisions you haven't questioned. That's the power of mental wrestling. Marcus Aurelius knew this struggle intimately. The mind that pursues the good, whether it achieves it or not, is honored by the very pursuit. But what happens when the mind has to pursue its own peace? When it can't find resolution in another person's response, it has to wrestle with itself. She's wrestling right now, with her pride, with her choices, with the question of whether walking away from you was the right move or the biggest mistake she's made. And every night that passes without your voice breaking the silence is another night she has to face those questions alone. You're not being cruel. You're not playing games. You're simply allowing her to experience the full weight of her own decisions without cushioning the impact. Most men can't do this. They jump in to rescue her from discomfort, never realizing that discomfort is exactly what leads to clarity. But when you master this level of restraint, something powerful begins to emerge from the silence. Number 7, rebuilding yourself in the background. While she's wrestling with thoughts of you, you're doing something far more important. You're rebuilding yourself in the background. This is where most men get it completely wrong. They think silence is about waiting, about sitting by the phone like it's life support, about putting their life on pause until she decides to reach out. But that's not silence. That's stagnation. Real silence, Stoic silence, is active. It's purposeful. It's you taking all that energy you used to pour into worrying about her response and redirecting it toward becoming the man you were meant to be. Think about it. Every minute you're not crafting the perfect text is a minute you could spend at the gym. Every hour you're not overthinking her silence, is an hour you could invest in your purpose, your goals, your future. Epictetus taught us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So who do you want to be right now? A man who waits for validation, or a man who creates his own worth? Here's what's happening while you choose growth over anxiety. She's lying awake wondering what you're doing. Is he thinking about me? Has he moved on? Is he talking to someone else? Meanwhile, you're actually living. You're reading. You're building. You're becoming. That gap between her mental prison and your mental freedom, that's where transformation happens. 6 months from now, one of two things will be true. Either she'll reach out to a man who used this silence to become stronger, wiser, more grounded, or she won't reach out at all. And you'll realize you didn't need her to call to feel complete. Both outcomes are victories, because the real work isn't happening in your phone. It's happening in your mind, your body, your daily choices. It's happening in the gym at 6 a.m. when other men are still staring at their phones. It's happening in the books you read while other men scroll through her social media. The Stoics called this the discipline of action. Focusing your energy only on what you can control. But there's something crucial you need to understand about the difference between this kind of productive silence and the toxic version that destroys men. Number 8, the difference between revenge and real detachment. Here's where most men go wrong. They confuse silence with punishment. They think, I'll show her. I'll ignore her until she comes crawling back. I'll make her feel what I felt. Brother, that's not Stoicism. That's ego wrapped in philosophy's clothing. Real detachment isn't about making her suffer. It's about freeing yourself from the need for her response to determine your worth. Revenge silence is still attachment. It's still you giving her power over your emotional state. You're just using withdrawal instead of pursuit, but you're still dancing to her rhythm. True Stoic detachment looks different. It says, I release you to make your own choices, and I release myself from needing those choices to go my way. Seneca understood this deeply. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. But he wasn't talking about delayed revenge. He was talking about the delay that allows wisdom to replace reactivity. Think of it like holding sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, whether you're squeezing to pull her closer or push her away, the faster it slips through your fingers. But when you open your hand completely, some sand may blow away. But what remains stays because it wants to be there. Right now, she's not calling. And your response to that silence reveals everything about who you're becoming. Are you staying quiet because you want to punish her for not reaching out? That's still giving her control over your actions. Or are you staying quiet because you're genuinely focused on becoming the best version of yourself, regardless of whether she ever calls again? That's the difference between revenge and real detachment. One keeps you emotionally imprisoned. The other sets you free. When you're truly detached, her silence doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like space. Space to grow. Space to breathe. Space to remember who you were before you let someone else's attention become your oxygen. And here's the beautiful irony. The man who truly doesn't need her to call is often the one she can't stop thinking about calling. But even that outcome isn't your goal anymore, because you've discovered something more valuable than her response. Your silence has taught you the most important lesson a man can learn: your worth was never up for negotiation. Right now, she might be staring at her phone thinking about you, or she might not be thinking about you at all. And here's what you've discovered. It doesn't matter. Not because you don't care, but because you've remembered something you forgot. You were whole before she entered your life, and you remain whole in her absence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Look at who you've become. Calm in uncertainty, strong enough to let someone walk away without chasing them with explanations. That transformation, that's what this was really about. Not getting her back, getting yourself back. You've learned that memory isn't built with words, it's built with character. With the kind of quiet strength that leaves an impression long after the conversation ends. Your silence spoke louder than any message ever could. It said, "I am a man who knows his worth. I cannot be broken." And that, brother, echoes in someone's mind forever, whether they call you or not. If this message hit you, hit that like button and share it with a brother who needs to hear this. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you're focusing on to build your inner strength? The most powerful thing you can ever say sometimes is nothing at all. Thanks for joining us today. See you in the next video.